So today's episode of Adelaide Real, a guide to getting your fit together. We're really excited to have Declan McGovern on board for today's episode. Now, if you've been hiding under a rock, you probably wouldn't know who Declan is. But if you've been on the online space and you're like me, you like looking at motivational stories and stories about transformation and weight loss, Declan has just taken out the male half of the bodybuilding.com 250k challenge. It's the transformation challenge, and you're the 2018 winner, Declan. Well done.
I am, mate. Thank you, and thanks for having me on your show, mate. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Not a problem, mate. And I think, look, you came across the radar. Obviously, I was watching the YouTube video that bodybuilding.com put out, and then I went back and checked out your videos and your Instagram and all that sort of stuff. And just wanted to touch on where were you when you decided to do this challenge, and why did you decide to do it?
So pretty much how it come about was I'd already started. So literally, I think last week there, or even maybe at the start of this week, I had my 1 year anniversary of starting my own transformation weight loss journey. And so it was crazy to think. Someone actually hit me up on Instagram and sent me a message about, like, why did I start, or what made you motivate? And I sort of just said to them, I'll go back, and I went to get the link to my first ever video that I posted on YouTube, and I was going to share it with them. And then when I went back there, I looked at the date, and it was literally the 1 year anniversary, and I went, holy crap! It's been a full year that I've been on this journey. But so a year ago, me and my wife, we've got a beautiful son, River, who's 2 years old, and we've been trying to fall pregnant. We've been falling pregnant. We've been having some issues with miscarriages. My wife and we've had literally 5 miscarriages in the last 12 months. So we sort of started going down the road of going and seeing a specialist, and they got involved. And I remember it like it was yesterday. We were literally sitting in the first meeting with the specialist, and she's saying, either of you a smoker, and none of us smoke, or either of you drinkers, and I haven't touched alcohol in probably 10 years. And same, I asked my wife, are you drinking? No. And then she sort of turned and looked at me, and she goes, oh, do you exercise? And I said, no, I don't. I haven't done any exercise for years. And then she goes, oh, okay, well, I think, one of the maybe contributor factors could be your weight. You're actually probably a bit too heavy than you should be. And I went, okay. And it sort of really hit home that, here we are trying to fall pregnant. We're falling pregnant. But what was happening, one of us was putting in an extra chromosome, and it just wasn't.
That's a very sobering conversation to have, isn't it?
It is. It was sort of, I'd known for a while, like in myself, that I needed to do something, and it was one of those things. And as most people probably do, I'll start on Monday. I'll continue eating, like, I'll go and have this last burger and this last large fries and this last whatever. And Monday I'll start. And I literally, for 7 years, I said that to my wife: Monday I'm going to go, or this or that, or I'm going to start. I'll go to the gym. And Monday rolled around, and I just kept doing the same thing. So it wasn't till, and obviously, my wife would sort of say, oh, why don't you go and do this or do that? And she was sort of just obviously trying to nudge me away to try and get onto it. And I knew at the time, I was like, oh, I probably should. But then I just, things would come up, and you make every excuse under the sun. Yeah. But then what happened, obviously, this meeting with this specialist, and that sort of just really, I remember we left the doctor's place, and I just turned to my wife. I said, oh, I think I really do need to, do something about my weight and my lifestyle choices that I'm making with food and stuff like that. And at the same time, Vinny, my trainer, who's an old trainer, I used to train with him when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that. And we had just sort of got in contact with each other for probably about 7 years. We haven't seen each other at all. And we ended up reconnecting on Facebook. And he said, I'll come down to my gym and, catch up, and we'll just have a yarn. And so as I walked in the door, I remember, again, I walked in the door to him, and he hadn't seen me in 7 years. The last time he seen me, I was, a lot fitter and a lot thinner. And he literally just said, he goes, mate, what's happened? You've turned into a fat prick, what's going on?
So some real honesty.
Yeah, And I was like, geez, here I am twice in 1 week. I'm pretty much getting told how big I am and I need to do something about it. And he sort of said, he goes, you've got a 2-year-old son, right? And he was brutally honest. He goes, mate, you've got a 2-year-old son and the biggest thing you can give to your son is your health. So, and he knew, like, obviously my old man's had, he had a few heart attacks and that. So he sort of said, you really got to keep your health in check. And so he literally, from that point, he just said, let's get you start training again. And I remember I went home that night after seeing him, and I was literally sitting on the couch, and that's what that first YouTube video that I did. I literally just pulled my phone out of my pocket, and I just started recording and said that tomorrow I'm going to start, and pretty much that's how I got started on the weight loss journey. And that's so we literally, me and Vinny started training. So I started training with Vinny twice a week, and then we were probably about 3 months or 4 months into training, and I remember I was out in the car park outside the gym, and I was just scrolling through the search sort of thing on Instagram there where it gives you suggested posts. And last year's winner of the bodybuilding.com's photo came up of his before and after as one of the photos. And I sort of caught my eye and I thought, so I clicked on it and I had a look, and it was, so Glenn Lovelace, his name, and his before photo was pretty much at the same stage that I was at when I was looking at the photo. I was like, oh, geez, I look like this guy. Like, I'm literally the same size. He's got, I think he was maybe a couple of kilos lighter than I was at that stage. Well, around about the same. I was like, geez, this guy's, it was like looking in a mirror. And then I saw what he looked like, after the challenge. I thought this guy's, so fit and so shredded that I was like, I wonder if I could achieve something like that in such a short time period.
It all came together, didn't it? It was sort of perfect timing for you, really, in terms of the competition.
Yeah, and that's what happened was, so literally I rocked upstairs and I said to Vinny, I said, mate, have a look at this guy and what he achieved in 12 weeks. And Vinny sort of just laughed and joked and said, mate, he goes, mate, first up, amazing effort, because I could get you way more shredded than him, sort of jokingly and stuff like that.
Good on him.
We never really thought anything else of it. And I went home, obviously left my training session. I went on bodybuilding.com website and signed up and started getting the newsletters and all their stuff like that. And it was just before Christmas, and then they sent out the thing to sign up for this competition that starts on January 14th. And I remember, again, coming back to Vinny once I got the email to say that it was starting on January 15th. And I'd come up the stairs, because at that stage I didn't even know there was 100 grand up for grabs or any of that sort of stuff. I just thought it could be a good motivator. And so I ended up falling sick and ended up getting tonsillitis, and it pretty much wiped me out. I was in bed for literally nearly 2 weeks. It sort of really halted. I had really good progress. I was at 104 kilos, got down to, I was around about, sort of 97 or whatever it was. I sort of was having these really good results. And then I got down to lighter, actually. I think I got down to about 92 kilos while I was training with Vinny. Then I got sick, and then I sort of had 2 weeks where I was in bed, and then I had literally another 2 weeks of where I just was so weak that I really couldn't do anything. And I started... and I started to put a couple of kilos, and I creeped back up to that 97 kilo mark. Yeah. And I remember coming and saying to Vinny, there's 100 grand up for grabs. And then in the back of my mind, obviously my focus and my whole thing why I wanted to win the thing was, yes, I wanted to get fit, and I was always going to get fit. Me and Vinny were already started that journey, so that was always going to come. Yeah. It was just a motivator in the sense of I'd been sick. I'd sort of lost my way after those 2 weeks of sort of losing a bit of strength and eating. My eating habits sort of had to go back a little bit. And then this come along, and then obviously with us having issues with the miscarriages, the next step was IVF. So, so when this come along, it all just sort of, as you said, it all sort of just come together at the right time. And I remember sort of saying to Vinny when I come up, I said, "Oh, do you think should we have a go at this?" And he said, "Mate," he goes, "if we're going to do it," he goes, "let's go for the win. Like, let's not really stuff around."
No mucking around.
Said, look, and that's what I said to him. I said, "Look, he knew what I'm like." I said, "Look, if I'm going to do something, I'm only going to do it if I know that I can." Like, I knew. I did a post the other day on my Instagram. Like, I knew from that day when Vinny said that I can transform you to look better than that guy did, or get you to that stage to a point where you've transformed your body. And so I knew that I could get that result. And then obviously it was going to come down to, obviously there's, however many thousands of thousands, I think there's like something like 100,000 or whatever, people that sign up for it. So it's
you put yourself in the race, didn't you? You knew you could put yourself in. Yeah.
I knew I could get the body transformation. So it worked out well.
So taking it back, so disregarding the body transformation, you started, approximately bit over 12 months ago.
Yeah.
What figures? What were you sitting at then? What did you
So
got?
So the day that I started, or the night that next morning that I jumped on the scales, I was at 104 kilos.
Right.
So that was 12 months ago. And then, as I said, so I got down to, I think the lowest I got down to was around about 92 kilos or something, roughly around about there. And then got sick and then went back up to 97. So at the transformation challenge, the starting weight was 97 kilos. And then from there, I did the 12-week challenge and ended up getting down to 73 kilos.
Wow.
So in the 12 weeks.
And you'd obviously put on a bit of muscle in that time too, so it wasn't just dropping all the weight. You were shredded as well.
Yeah. So I put on some decent size as well, and I was pretty lucky where I hadn't set foot in a gym for literally probably 8 years or maybe 7 years. I hadn't gone run, I hadn't done anything, but obviously being a farmer and stuff like that, I still did a bit of so I was still using, the plow, the hand plow and stuff like that to get a lot of work done. So I still had a bit of that muscle memory there, but but I hadn't literally lifted a weight or done a press or anything like that in literally 8 years. So.
Your background, did you come from a sporting background, or you just like most, played a sport and
played footy growing up, literally like most kids, and especially down here in Melbourne. Played footy growing up, and I played up. It was funny. I played up until I was about 16, and then I quit, and I was heavily into skateboarding and surfing and stuff like that. So I started skateboarding a bit more, and then I ended up moving when I turned 18. I moved down to Torquay. I played footy down there. Ended up playing for a local footy team down there in Torquay, and then which is a surf coast, pretty much where Bells Beach is. And then
I've got a cousin down that way.
Oh there you go. So I played footy all pretty much up until I was probably about 24, 25, I think it was when I
you'd been active. You hadn't been a couch potato your whole life.
No, I hadn't. I'd been active. And as I said, I used to train with Vinny. So there was one stage I was training with Vince, and I was actually doing cross triathlons as well. So we'd go and do mountain trail ride. You'd go and run a trail, and then you'd go and swim in the ocean and stuff like that. So I was training for those, and I was getting right into it. And then obviously, as I said, I started to travel, around my mid-20s. And then so I stopped playing footy, and then literally, just sort of I ended up getting, meeting my wife, and then I got a bit comfortable, and then it was sort of one of those things. I just sort of didn't get back into the gym. I didn't pick up any other sports, and then I started obviously just the farming, because I started getting into the farming stuff a bit more as well. It was sort of any time that I had, I was either at farm. If I wasn't at farm, I was at home. So.
So with the challenge, because the reason I've started this podcast is because I'm going through the same thing myself. I'm a lot heavier than you. I've got up to 159 kilos, and I'm 18 kilos in the last 4 months. So I'm working to get about 100, bit under 100. I think will be good, and then just what happens from there. But the podcast is a way of keeping me accountable, and I guess that's been a big part of you, probably Vinny and your wife keeping you accountable. And I think people need that when they're undergoing change. I think you have to be an exceptional person to not have that accountability.
Well, I think for me too, the one thing that I found when I pulled out my camera that first day and decided, I remember I even said to my wife, I said, I recorded something last night about me starting this weight loss journey and this and that. And she sort of looked at me and just blatantly said, do you want to really put that out on the internet? Do you want, you're going to, people are going to see it. If you don't follow through with it, then that's always going to be out there. And then I sort of turned around and said, well, that's going to be my motivator. It's one of those things. I'm going to share this video every day that I could of what I eat, what I train, whatever I'm going through. For people, obviously I'm going to share it with my friends, my family, and then complete strangers. The complete stranger didn't worry me, but it's the friends and family, that are going to see it, are going to go, all right, so he's started this. He's now working. He's posted every day, but then all of a sudden, if I don't post something, they're going to turn around and say, "What happened to you? Why aren't you posting anymore?" So they're going to keep me honest. So I use that as it.
Sorry, on that as well, the strangers, because I've done the same, and I've started a little Facebook group, and you've got your Farmer Fit Journey, which is awesome. It's fantastic. If anyone can, jump onto Instagram or Facebook to check out the Farmer Fit journey. But it's the strangers that I've found have been giving me a lot of love. It's been
big time.
Fantastic.
It's one of those things. I think when you find, and that's what I've found really rewarding throughout doing this. I got to a point where it was all about myself. Like I was trying to motivate myself. I had my reasons why I needed to get fit. Obviously, with us trying to have another child, and just for better health and whatever else. And then it got to a point where, as you said, like the messages start coming in from someone that has been watching my videos in the early days where all I was doing was like walking or whatever it was. And they said, oh, I got up and started walking, I'm now walking a couple of kilometers a week, or I'm doing this all because of you. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And it's, and then obviously once I started the challenge, it sort of just happened tenfold where literally I started to, and because I was doing the videos, I sort of went in and out after a while on YouTube. I sort of was posting nearly every day, and then I got to a point where I felt like it was a bit repetitive, so I sort of backed off and maybe would only post sort of the highlights of the week, and then I sort of got sick, and then I sort of jumped off altogether. And then when I decided to do the challenge, I said one thing to Vinny. I said, I'm going to document this challenge. I want to document every single day from day one right through to the end, because I knew one thing that I do when I do something, I need to know it inside out. So I went and researched. Once I decided we're going to do the challenge, like I went and researched last year's winter. I remember hitting up Glenn and sending him a message and saying, hey mate, like, I'm going to try this challenge. I'm going to go for the win. Like I think he probably would have read that message. Like everyone who says that I'm going to go for the win, he's probably like, oh yeah, good luck to you. And it's one of those things. Like it's sort of like, yeah, good on you, mate. And I was like, no, like I'm dead serious. But can you help me out, or can you just tell me what you reckon the judges are looking for? And like he said, he goes, at the time you don't really know. You just got to you just got to be out there. But I wanted to make sure that I was covering off all my training, all my diet, and everything, because I didn't want it to be, because I knew there'd be a lot of questions if I did win it, there'd be a lot of questions of how did you do it, and I didn't want it to always be where I'm just like, maybe this is what I did here. I can just say to people, go back to day one of the challenge, and this is exactly what I did every single day. Because there was a few people. It was funny when I got through the challenge. I made a decision that I wouldn't train. I always made sure I wore a t-shirt or a jumper. I was always trained. I never wanted to show off my train. I didn't want to see the change. I didn't want people to see the changes too much throughout the whole challenge. I wanted it to be at the end where it was a bit of a wow factor sort of thing.
Yep.
And it got to week. I remember like I was getting people, because I was posting videos every day, and people started to obviously enjoy the videos. They got to come along on the journey with me, but because they weren't actually really seeing, they might have seen my face getting a little bit thinner, and because I had a big beard, you couldn't really tell anyway. And so people were starting to watch and saying, how much weight have you lost, or how, because you're doing all this. We're watching you doing all this amazing training, and you're walking 5Ks or every day, or you're doing 10K, but they couldn't really see the transformation. And then I remember on the 9th week, I'd finished the training session. It was the first time Vince said to me, "Take your top off. I want to see what your body's looking like." And at this point, like he hadn't seen me with my clothes off at all. He literally he didn't worry about it. He goes, "I'm not worried about it." And it was at week 9, and he goes, "Let's take your top off." And I remember I took my top off, and for me, that was the first time that I literally went, "Holy shit!" And I remember we took a photo, and I posted it on. We debated it. We were all sitting around saying, "Should I post it on Instagram or shouldn't I?" Yeah. And at that stage, because it was only 3 weeks to go, I was like, "Well, maybe bodybuilding.com are doing what everyone else is doing. They're really loving the content that I'm putting out, and I'm training like a beast. But am I going to get that transformation that they might need to award the winner with?"
Yeah.
And I remember saying, well, maybe we should put it out there, because then at least it shows that I've gone from this body to this body, and you can see physical changes. And that photo just blew up. Like I literally posted it, and it got 300, 400 comments on it. Like it had just amazing likes. Yeah, it went crazy. And I think for a lot of people who were in the challenge, again, because I was still getting a lot of messages throughout, I think I started to get then the messages, "Oh, you've won this. You're going to win this for sure." That's where that started to come in. So
did that give you a kick along? That give you some extra motivation?
It definitely gave me. It just gave myself. I knew that I could. Again, it was just funny. I knew that I could win it. Like I had this feeling the whole way through. I thought I'm going to win this.
This is
and
going to happen.
If I don't win it, I'm going to be in the top 3. I'm going to win one of the smaller prize. I knew if I didn't win the top prize, I would, because it was obviously there's like a social motivator prize as well.
Yeah.
And I thought if I didn't win that, I would have won the social media prize. If I didn't win that, there was another prize which was first time challenger. And I thought I'm in a chance. I knew that what everyone else, and the thing was, I never looked at it like I was ever competing against anyone else. At the end of the day, I was just competing against myself. So I knew that all I had to do was come. If I had to go and walk 10 kilometers every morning, that's what I had to do. So I didn't care if the other guy was having, because that's the thing, you see everyone else posting all these photos, and people are, got different body physiques. People obviously maybe had only let themselves go for a year or two, so they've still got a lot more muscle retaining there underneath, a bit of extra body weight. So I just always focused on what I could do, and I thought I trusted Vinny in his process that he'd get me the body that would look amazing by the end. I trusted Sarah, my naturopath, who was looking after my meals. Like I literally, from day one of her giving me my meal plan, I literally ate everything down to the minutest gram. So I didn't go over. So I was my headspace was it was just the right time. Like everything just came aligned. I was in the zone. I was motivated. I knew my reason why I wanted to win. The reason I wanted to win was purely, was the money, for the fact that it was an opportunity for us to be able to go down the IVF track.
Yeah. Well, it's just
and that was the thing, and that was it was all for me. Like if we weren't doing if we didn't have to go down IVF, I probably wouldn't have done the challenge. I just would have continued on with Vince, and I knew I would get to where I want to get to health wise, regardless. That was just it was an added bonus that we were going to be able to go down the IVF track if I had won. And then, so for me, that was my motivator and driving force of, my alarm went off at 4:00 every morning, and I'd go and walk for literally 2 hours before I'd go to work.
I see the video. So with your transformation, you've obviously worked like a dog in terms of you've walked, you've been in the gym, and I've seen Vinny. Look, I wouldn't want to bump into Vinny in a dark lane. I reckon he'd get you doing burpees or pull-ups or something.
He's next level.
He's a hard man. He's absolutely next level. But did you find it was that, or it was the diet, or was it the whole thing coming together?
I think it was everything. Like, I think it was funny. I get a lot of people, obviously when people are going and trying to lose weight, they're trying to look for the answer. So a lot of people think that it's diet. So they're like, people always ask me, what are you eating? What are you eating? And that's why I post every meal or most meals that I do eat. So people can physically see what I eat. But the thing that I find is it was a combination of everything. Like, it was literally being able to have Vinny, having Sam. Like, I ended up getting probably about week 4 or week 5, probably about week 4, I ended up getting a lot of tight calf. Obviously old man's from footy days. I used to always, whenever I played footy, I'd play in the game and my calves wouldn't come good until Wednesday night or whatever. And so that started to creep in when I started to do a lot of running. And so Vince had to, at one point, I remember he'd say, go and run 3 kilometres tonight or whatever it was. And I'd go and run the 3 kilometres, and then that night I'd just have, my calves would be that tight. And then I'd have to come and train the next day, and I'd walk up the stairs going, oh, my calves are really tight. And he'd be like, all right, so let's change it. So he then flip it around and say, let's do swimming. So now I want you to go and swim. So I started to do a lot of swimming throughout the challenge and stuff like that. So, but I think it was just a combination of having, obviously, Vinny with the training, and then Sam's, who's Vinny's business partner here at Elite, is a myotherapist. So he would be treating me with dry needling or massage. We were lucky where we got the Normatec leg compression bags and stuff like that. So I'd jump on them. And that was the other thing. I'm very blessed that, I'm here at Elite at the moment doing this video at the gym.
Facility, isn't it?
And it is like, so upstairs the Elite gym, and then downstairs there's the Elite football training facility. And that's like world-class, football facility, where you've got, like, here, obviously the A-League, a lot of A-League players come through and do it like it's their off-season at the moment. So they're down there training and stuff like that. So being obviously Elite, so a lot of the guys that Sam and Vinny and that train here are Elite athletes. So it's it was funny. I remember when I first walking up the stairs on this, overweight, big bearded guy, and everyone's sort of probably looking around going, who let this guy up here in this gym? But
This new power lifter, this Australian power lifter.
So but it was amazing. So and I got to train with I got to do a couple of sessions with Barack Salman, who's the current Australian champion jiu-jitsu fighter who they train. And I remember getting put through the same training that he would do. And then I go and train, next week there might be some soccer player that they're training, and I go and jump do a session with There's always people coming and going, or if it was a boxer, like I say.
So there was real variation, wasn't there? Is it more, it's sort of functional fitness centre? Is it like CrossFit style stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of it is, so it's very, so Vince is pretty much, his sessions only run for half an hour. So literally half an hour session, and it's just high intensity pretty much from the second. Yeah. And it depends what you're coming in for. Like if you want to do that stuff, they tailor it around there. But the style that they do, obviously Vince's background is he's come from a traditional sort of bodybuilding, weightlifting sort of gym from back in the day. And then he went off and actually he competed in CrossFit. And then he's now, at the moment, he competes in obviously Spartan races and stuff like that. So, and so he's in the, he'd be a top 10 Spartan racer in the elite class. So he's an absolute monster at that. So that's why, so a lot of his training is focused around that sort of endurance, that sort of stuff. So he's which is really, really good.
So where to from now for you? So obviously this is a lifestyle change that it's not just going to finish at the end of that 12 weeks. You want it to hopefully remain, forever. What are the obviously 100K? Everyone would love to get 100K, but that's not realistic. Only one person does that. What are the real benefits you found out of just making this? Because you firstly got to make that mental change, don't you? You've got to make the decision. And you have to,
at the end of the day, like you're going to say, you need to find a reason why. Like you can sit, I did it for 7 years. I procrastinated for 7 years of me saying, I'm going to start Monday, but there was nothing big enough, or my reason why to start wasn't big enough for me to ever take that first step. So it wasn't until that slap in the face of, you're overweight, you're probably the reason why you're having miscarriages, because your semen's not as viable as probably it would be of a healthy person. And so that was a real kick in the face. And I thought, well, I need to change something here.
And you don't, and that's not something you want to put your wife through either. It's not a pleasant thing for your wife to be going through.
Right. It is, and that's the thing. She's going through miscarriages, and then you're sitting there, you're seeing what she's having to put her body through, and for you sitting there as us, as a male, there's nothing really. You don't really have to do anything. You don't go through any of that sort of stuff. So for me to be thinking that I could be one of the reasons, obviously there was other reasons why I wasn't happy, but to be one of the, everything has to align again for that, miracle of having a baby. So it was that was a real, it was an opener for me to just go, you need to get your ass into gear. And then again with Vince coming into my life, coming back into my life at that stage, and saying, he just another punch in the face, saying, you're a fat prick. You're a fat prick. You need to get training, and let's get you training. And that's probably been the biggest thing. And for him, especially for Vince, he's such a he just wanted to see me back to where I was when I used to train with him.
Friend,
and that's it. And there's a lot of people say, this and that, it's a bit unfair that I said, no, but I said, that's what I needed. If I didn't get that, I probably would still be, I probably might be still, I'd be probably training or doing my own thing. I was just blessed that Vince was able to come back into my life and was willing to help me with whatever it took for me to get back.
And you find people, they talk about this. I'm older generation than you. I'm 50, but people talk about society's getting softer, and that's one of the things where they are a bit softer. You can't be brutally honest with people.
Definitely. And even sometimes I'd even find myself when I was making my videos or talking that I didn't want to say fat prick this or fat that or this, or I'd always try and say overweight. And even my own side, if it was me, like Vince would say, you're fat. That's just
that's the way you are.
You are, so it's but that's probably the thing. But getting back to sort of your question, for me, the benefits after and what I'm doing now is I've literally changed my whole life around. I've literally gone from being someone that made every excuse under the sun why I couldn't do something to now I just live and breathe it. Like I literally, so we've signed up for this Spartan race.
That's fantastic. Well done.
In November. So, and that was that was obviously something to give me to focus on and to train for, because obviously I'm that type of person where when I was training for something, or if I'm training towards a goal, I just give it everything I've got. And then obviously through that, Spartan have jumped on and actually approached me to be an ambassador for them, because they're making which is great. They're making a real big push at the moment to try and reach people in, our positions of where we might have let ourselves go for a while. Well, then, hey, come and sign up to a Spartan race. We'll give you the training that you need to do. You can watch all the videos and then come out and actually participate in something that
it's a lifestyle and a social thing too, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's something that it's physically demanding on one's body, but not even that mental. So to be able to set your goal and reach something that you can, at the end of the day, when you finish that course, you say, well, that's something I've done and I've achieved. And you might not be the fittest you are, but at least you get out there, you give it a go, and then hopefully it'll springboard you to want to continue on and do more. And that's for me. And Vince has set us a pretty big target of, he wants me to race in the elite class with him.
Wow. Right.
And he's saying, let's try and at least finish top 20, top 15, in up against elite athletes who have been doing it for years and years and years. So he set us a challenge, and that's the thing for me. Like I'm like, even if I don't reach that goal, but that's what I'm going to be aiming for. And I think I believe that I can get there. Obviously, if my body holds up, I'm still getting a few the old man calves and stuff like that.
He obviously knows what makes you tick, though, doesn't he? He knows what gets you going.
Well, that's the thing. And we've done, obviously, when you spend, I spend literally, I'm with him 4 days a week. So I train 3 days with him one-on-one, and then I come and do the elite training club, which I do on a Saturday morning here. But then we'd go and train and go and do trail runs together and stuff like that throughout the challenge. So he knows he knows me better than I know myself, how to push, or when I'm probably doubting myself, like even through training, like I'll notice when I'm starting to, especially in the early stages of my training, like I'd be fighting against my mental self saying, oh, just give up. And then right at the perfect time, and he'd be like, what, do you want to give up? Like, it's almost like he could read what I was thinking in my head. He goes, give up, just give up, mate. It's all right, you're weak, just give up. And then I'd be like, no, you bastard, I'm going to bloody keep going, or whatever it is. So it's brilliant. Complete lifestyle change. Obviously, the videos on my Instagram and putting out social content. And that's the thing. Like that drives me now. Is that I get messages daily from people like yourself, other people that are in positions where my stories somehow come across their their phone or on their social media, and they've made a change or whatever because of my content or something that I've been doing or whatever. So for me, I've sort of focused now where I want to continue to put out my content in hope that I do reach people that can make a change, get up off the couch, and that's got to feel good. Obviously you've got to be selfish. You've got to do it for yourself, but having that greater sphere of influence, it's got to feel fantastic. Oh, it feels amazing. And like I've got a fella down in Tasmania who's started walking, and he walks, like the other day he said he walked like 20 kilometres on the weekend there, went out and walked it. And he goes, he hadn't trained and hadn't been similar position that I was, hadn't been training for years or whatever. And now he walks every day, and he's out and, sends me a message, and I'm following him back on Instagram, and I see every day he's 10 kilometres here or, 15 kilometres. Here's this guy who's just somehow my story. And I think that's the other thing. My story is relatable in a sense with other people. Like I related back to Glenn last year's winner because I saw myself in his before and after, in his before photos. He's just an everyday guy. He's not a world-class athlete who's, shredded and this and that. So you get that. And, I'm just an everyday guy, with a beard, and I'm a farmer, and I talk, So I think obviously a lot of the bodybuilding people were from the United States, and I think they were just like, look at this guy, who is this bloke? He's out walking and there's kangaroos bouncing past him and everything like that. So I think
the bush ranger.
I'm able to. People are just able to relate with me as just an everyday guy, and that's all I am. Like I'm no one. I'm no more special than you are, and I'm I'm just an everyday guy that's been able to reach people and have a voice in something. And I've just stayed true to myself, and I think that's the best way to be. A lot of people I think a lot of people throughout the challenge thought that I was they'd only come across maybe one of my videos, and like anything, they'd watch one video and then they'd message, they'd say, "Oh, surely you've put this on. You haven't trained. You can't train like that intense if you haven't trained for this and time." I say, "Mate, go back and watch my other YouTube channel, Farmer Under the Little Food Garden." I said, "You'll see me for the last 4 or 5 years. I've been posting videos. I've been the same person this whole time. I'm not I'm just trying to put the, I haven't just put on another extra 30 kilos just to try and win this challenge. I've been I've been this way for years and years and years. So, and
well, look, in closing, Declan, I know. Look, thank you so much for your time, mate. But it's amazing. You drop that little pebble in the pond, and it's that ripple, that positive ripple effect. And you were helped by seeing someone else that did it. I've been helped by seeing you, and other people have been helped by seeing. I've had people on Facebook that are following me that they're now out walking. It's amazing how positivity can spread. It really is a fantastic feeling.
It is amazing. And even to relate again, like yesterday, I was running a comp there last week for someone to come and train.
I saw that video.
Come and do a workout. And so yesterday we had Richo, who's a guy who came and trained. And literally I'd sort of bumped into Richo. We sort of knew each other through mutual sort of friends around the place. And I bumped into him probably must have been towards the end of the challenge, and I was we're at a shop in there, and he sort of bumped in. He come up to me and he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Richard. I don't know if you remember me. I met you through a friend a couple of years ago." He goes, "I've been following your journey online." And I said, "Oh, thanks, man." He goes, "Mate," he goes, "You've been motivating me to I need to get up off my butt and do something about it." And we sort of, that was just a brief little encounter. And then obviously when I realized he was following me, I started following him back. And then when we did the comp, he commented on the photo and said, "Mate," he goes, "I would absolutely kill to come and do this workout. Like, I just need that." Because I know that me coming and just training alongside you will be the spark that will get me going. So when I told the guys we have to choose a winner, I said, here's a guy that we need to get him here. And like, say, obviously we trained yesterday. Yeah. And he messaged me this morning, and he was that thankful. And for me, like, that's what it's about. Like I said to Vincent, I said, like, this guy is, I can see the drive and the passion that he's got from being in this position. And, he hasn't said he hadn't been in the gym for 15 years. So it's a pretty powerful thing.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a powerful thing. We're sitting here, you're in Adelaide, and I'm here in Melbourne, and we're talking about a common theme that most people go through in their lives, or majority of people probably aren't the healthiest they can be. And it's something that if my story can continue on, and I can reach another person, or even if it's just one more person that reads what comes across my content and it gets them up off the couch, I think it's a pretty special thing. And as you said, you might not think that what you're doing is affecting anyone else or influencing anyone else, but it does, and it can reach anywhere in the world these days, which is just such a powerful tool. So,
look, I've been connected with great people like you and Drew Manning and John, lots of people across the world just through this podcast, and just by asking. And it's great when you talk to positive people, they say, "Yep, no worries, I'm in, let's do it." And because they want to help people, see the effect that has on people. And that's just brilliant. So where can people find you, mate? And just on Instagram, Facebook, all that sort of stuff?
So it's all pretty much just Farmer Fit Journey. So just like FARMER Fit Journey. And it's all across all the socials. So it's all pretty much stuff. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So,
and they'll get to meet Vinny in some of those videos.
Yeah, so Vinny features pretty prominent in most of the videos, and now that we're going to be doing this Spartan training and racing alongside him, he'll be featuring a lot more, because obviously the training, I'll be doing everything he's doing. So it's
brilliant. And just lastly, mate, I think your wife would have to be happy, wouldn't she?
Yeah, mate. I think she's. I think it was funny. at the start, when I told her, I didn't mention this, when I come home after speaking with Vinny about him telling that we're going to win it, we should do it. He goes, but you might want to tell your wife and make sure that she's okay with it, because it's going to be a big sacrifice, for what we're going to do. So I remember I went home, and sorry to keep dragging this on, but I went home to my wife, and I sat her down. I remember sitting on the end of the bed, and I said, now I've got a pretty big thing that I'm about to ask you, and I'll totally understand if you say no. And I was like, but I want to enter a transformation challenge. There's $100,000 up for grabs, which I think, obviously in the position we're in, to want to do IVF, it could really help.
Yeah.
And she sort of, and obviously she's sitting there trying to, process it, and she sort of was like, do you really think you're going to win? Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Like, let's just she's like, yeah, you can do the transformation trials. That's fine. But she goes, let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I sort of said to her, I said, no. I said, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to win this thing. Like, I said, I'm going to get Vince's on board. I said, we've got Sarah on board who's going to do my meal plans. The only thing is I need you to be on board, because you're going to have to sacrifice a lot to allow me to go and spend time walking every morning, training. I'm not going to be, I'm going to be probably cranky. And that was the other thing. Like, a lot of people don't realize when you do these transformation challenges, like, it's a selfish thing. Like, I was cranky. I had mood swings. Like, I'd come home, and in my head, I'd be processing it as like, well, I'm out here trying to win this challenge for us. And I've been up since 4 a.m. I've been training, I've been running, I've been walking, I've been doing all this. And then she'd ask me maybe, hey, can you give me a hand to change River's nappy or something? And I'd be like, I've been doing all this. And then she'd be like, wait a minute. Like, and it's funny. But but at the end of it, as it got on throughout the process, she was just like, it's been the best thing, obviously in many ways, more than anything. But I remember it was about there's 2 weeks to go in the challenge. And she did a beautiful thing where she got a little trophy made up, and she put on it. She made it out as if it come from Riverhouse's 2-year-old, saying, "Daddy, you've already won."
Oh, fantastic!
And it was a moment in the challenge, in the whole process, that I sort of did step back, and I went, you know what? Here I am. I'm the fittest I've ever been, the healthiest I've ever been. Mentally the best I've ever been. And she just said, she goes, whatever happens, if you win or lose, and she says, I know that you're gung-ho that you're going to win this thing, but just know that we have got the man back, and the dad and the husband that we wanted, and we've wanted for a long time. So that was that was pretty special. So but she's definitely,
that's better than the 100Ks, mate.
Any day of the week, mate. And that's the thing. It's the things that for me, just the way I look, feel, and for them guys, it's just it's amazing. It's no money in the world.
Favorite part of the video is when they saw your wife outside the gym.
It's
brilliant.
It was pretty emotional. That's the whole thing. Like, people don't realize in that video, if you get a chance, jump on my page and have a watch. It's like, so literally that day before they came and surprised me to win, my wife had another miscarriage that day before. And so she found out that day that we had a miscarriage, but then she got the phone call from my cousin, because Vince had told my cousin, hey, can you call Christina to tell him that he's won? Like, we need to get her to come to the gym. So for her, she had that, the emotions of, all right, another loss through miscarriage, but then we've won, so now we're able to go and do the IVF on the other spectrum. So she was sort of having these mixed emotions, and I remember I come home, and at this stage I come home and and I was still thinking I was going to win, and they told me that I was probably a good chance that I'd won one of the smaller prizes.
Yeah, because you didn't know.
Yeah, so I didn't know. So I come home, and I remember saying to my wife the night before, and so she's told me about the miscarriage and stuff like that. And then I sort of was going through that, but in my head I'm like, don't worry, like, I'm going to still win this challenge for us. We're going to get it. And she was at this stage new, but she couldn't tell me. But then I was still going through the sort of the grief of having another miscarriage. So she's saying she saw me looking like, I know that this would bring him up so much, but I didn't want to spoil it, because she knew how more it would be special the next day. And so that video, when you see her walking up and she's like, she is so emotional because she said it was just so, like I did it, like it was, that was the thing. I actually did do what I set out to say that I was going to do, 12 weeks earlier. So,
mate, that's a real credit to you and a real credit to your character that you could do that, because a lot of people say a lot of stuff, they don't actually follow through with it. So brilliant, mate. That's
thank you.
Fantastic. So we'll check in with you again when you're on your journey to your next crazy adventure. And then when you get through the Spartan stuff, what are you going to do? The 100-mile run, or are you going to swim to Tasmania? What are you going to do?
No, the funny thing was, Vince said to me, just messaged me the other day, because we send motivational stuff back and forth all the time, and now I'm following all these Spartan races, trying to get motivated, and he sent to me a message and said, all right, so let's do this Spartan race in November. He goes, but then it's only 7 kilometres. He goes, but then after that one, let's do a 24-hour endurance race. And I went, okay, so we're going to run for 24 hours, are we? So I think that might be our next challenge after the Spartan race.
So you'll have a film crew following you for the rest of your life now. You know that, don't you?
Well, I've got my every time I pull up here, I think all the other people are here, like, oh, here comes Declan again with his camera out. And then anytime I do my intro for the video, the music has to go down in the gym, and everyone sort of stops. Is like, oh, it's just Declan just filming another intro. So it's everyone's getting used to it. So.
All right, mate. Well, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure, mate. And I'll flick you all this stuff, all the links and all, so you can use it how it wants, mate. But really appreciate your time, and you're going to help a lot of people. Thank you very much.
No worries, mate. And thanks for having me on the show, Paul. I really appreciate you getting me onto it, and what you're doing's amazing, mate. And keep smashing it.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, brother.
Talk to you later.
See you, mate.